Our next contestant is Maya Schneider, who many of you know. She's a banker, deals with business development. She is also an incumbent. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mark.
Edgar Stratton is our next person. He's president of Dependable Tow, a local businessman. He's a 28-year Truckee resident and went to Truckee High School. I was explaining how to find the studios. No problem, said Edgar. I've been there. And finally, Don McCormick, retired corporate manager, also an incumbent, and also former mayor. Now, one of our candidates, and I didn't mention this, I need to, Edgar is not an incumbent and is running for this post for the first time? Yes.
Second time.
Second time. Oh, all right. I didn't know that. Thank you. Now, here's how it's going to work. We're going to play on videotape 5 questions, statements, and we'll all get to see the questions and statements. And then we're going to ask each candidate to respond in order to these questions. And we'll start with Bob Drake first. On the first question, we'll move down the line. The second question, we'll start first with Maya and move down the line, and so on. I'm ready to go. Are you?
Ready.
All set.
I'm going to give you 60 seconds, just in the interest of equal time. And at the end of 60 seconds, I'll nod or wave or jump up and down so that you'll know. If that doesn't work, I'll yell time. Okay? All right. So we're ready for our first question on tape. If you would roll the tape, please.
I don't want to see the town get real commercialized, but I don't know. I'd like to see the historical aspect of it kept.
Bob?
I think the history of this town is probably one of our most important assets to the town itself, Commercial Row, and also Donner State Park and the in the community resort at Squaw Creek and so on, Squaw Valley. It's a beautiful community, and I agree with the questioner. We must maintain that. Downtown must be maintained, looking old and keeping it that way. On the other hand, the commercial aspects of town for the people of us who live here, the regular, I think should be centralized away from there so that we can keep that ambiance and build downtown into a really attractive community, somewhat on the nature like Nevada City did with their mining interest. Ours should be lumber and trains. Personally, I'd love to see a new type of train museum out on the mill site to help maintain that history.
Thank you, Bob. Maya?
Yeah, there's an interesting program going on right now with the assistance of a local commercial owner in the historic district. We're actually doing an inventory right now of the historic structures in downtown, looking at each building as its relativity to the overall historic district, as well as the historic relevance of that specific building. Once that inventory is done, we'll really have a tool to move forward and preserve the historic sense of downtown Truckee, as well as allowing our business owners to have businesses that are commercially viable. I think it's an important balance, but I agree with Bob, maintaining that historic sense is critical to the success of our town.
Thank you, Maya. Edgar?
I think the historic area of downtown Truckee needs to be maintained. Last year I was on vacation and we went to Indian ruins that I'd gone to when I was a kid, and they've been dilapidated and falling down, and I don't want to see that in Truckee. I'd like to see, instead of holding up progress, the historic area needs to be brought up to date, but with a historic theme behind it. I don't think the town should be slowing progress down, because that's tax dollars that could go towards downtown and making it nicer.
Okay, Edgar, thank you. Don?
I agree with everything that's been said, and I would add just a couple of points. In both our downtown specific plan and in the new development code that is currently going through review, there are very rigorous standards that are being established, being continued really, for the structures in the downtown area. And I think in the years ahead, the town council must enforce those standards rigorously. Second point is that we have just recently started to recompose our Historic Preservation Advisory Committee in order to qualify and meet all of the state historic standards and have more people on the Historic Preservation Committee who have experience in historic planning, architecture, as well as other professional fields. I think this will be a big advantage and will help HPAC in the future and give them more muscle when it comes to making recommendations.
Thank you. You folks were great. Almost exactly 60 seconds. There's a clock on each of their heads, I think. It's wonderful. All right, our second question has to do with assessment districts and money for parking and that sort of thing. So let's listen to that question.
Do you have anything that,
Well, I mean, it's the same problem we've been having. I mean, as far as having an assessment district down here and get downtown parking, I mean, we hear it every day from customers. I mean, we love to come to Truckee, we love to go to downtown, but we can't find a place to park. So it's been...
place for restroom.
Yeah, and restroom facilities, which hopefully the merchants are maintaining in the bus depot.
Will be Maya this time.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, Mike brings up a really interesting point on that, and the downtown merchants right now are looking at a PBID, a parking business district, that will actually assess the downtown business owners and put that money towards parking availability downtown. Also, the downtown specific plan, which was just adopted about a year ago, includes parking. One of the things that will be a challenge for us is working with UP and seeing if we can't install some parking near or along the railroad tracks. But certainly parking is important. The preservation of downtown and keeping it commercial viability is important.
Thank you, Maya. Edgar?
Downtown parking, the restrooms are definitely important. I think part of the redevelopment agency's plan was to put in a new parking garage and update other parking in the area, and hopefully that'll happen.
Okay, thank you, Don.
The downtown merchants are to be congratulated for their efforts with this assessment district. It may be a parcel improvement district, or it may be some other kind of district, to provide funds in the near term for parking, streetscape improvements, and lighting. This will go a long way to providing some early improvements downtown, whereas the redevelopment agency, which we have taken steps to form, but will be a long time in producing any tangible results, on the order of 5 to 10 years before any real money flows. So this assessment district definitely is a positive step. The town has taken considerable staff time and money to assist in that development, and we look forward to its early implementation.
All right, Don, thank you. Now we're going to come back down to the other end of the table here and let Mr. Drake respond to that same question.
The assessment district talked about is in process. The redevelopment district is just now going into effect, which will provide some funds for that. The parking and the downtown specific plan included parking areas. And the town now, well, we are landlords of the depot, and the chamber is moving into the depot. And part of that plan that the town insisted on is that those restrooms remain public restrooms and will be open during reasonable business hours of the downtown merchants on the weekends. And there'll be a separate entrance there so that there will be public restrooms downtown to service our visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. The next issue has been a pretty hot issue, and I'm sure you'll all have something interesting to say about it. But the next question has to do with bypass on 267. So let's take a look at that tape now.
The only thing that concerns me is the fact that they're discussing closing down the exit ramps to downtown.
Gotcha.
And if they close down the exit ramps to downtown to do the 267 bypass, it's going to really, really affect downtown Truckee, which is really going to affect the economy of Truckee as a whole. So if there's anything they can do to prevent that, I'd sure.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Edgar, you get to respond first to this one.
I think the town has done a commendable job trying to keep the off-ramps and on-ramps open to service the downtown area. I believe they're doing everything they can. And I don't know where the town could go to do any more than they have to get this done.
Thank you. Don?
There has been a lot of work, both staff time and $150,000 to try and convince Caltrans that there is a viable mechanism to keep the two westerly ramps open. Unfortunately, I feel that Caltrans' support ultimately was rather lukewarm,
and the federal agency in Sacramento declined that offer. We do have a group going to Washington in the next couple of weeks to try and convince the Washington authorities that there is merit in keeping those two open. This does point out something that Truckee needs to be aware of in the years ahead. We have two major projects coming with Caltrans, relocation of the bug station and relocation of the corporation yard. And Caltrans has shown an indication of wanting to have their way with us. And those facilities can be very unattractive if not done in the right manner. And we will have to work carefully with Caltrans and our legislative leaders to try and minimize the impact.
Don, thank you. Maya?
The 267.
What happened to me?
You want to go
I'm
ahead with
sorry.
Bob?
Go ahead. What?
Okay.
My mistake. Excuse me, Bob.
The 267 bypass is happening, but whether or not it happens in the right way is really what we need to determine now. The ramps that access downtown are critical to the economy of Truckee. They're critical to access to our tourist and commercial area. And the contingency that's going back to Washington has really got to do a good job. For what it's worth, I think we've seen when we've sent contingencies to other arenas such as the PUC that we have had an impact, and I would hope that our group would have the same impact.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Drake.
It's been my either fortune or curse to have been involved in this. I'm a member of that committee, subcommittee of the council is working on this. We have been fighting this to keep those ramps open, as the merchant talked about. We think it's just important and critical to the viability of downtown. We're going back now to, with total regional support, almost every organization in the Lake Tahoe region, as well as, of course, our own community here, and we're bringing a member of the community with us, which is something we consistently do, is involve community members. One of the downtown merchants is going with us. We, like Maya said, we've been successful with these before. We have state support from the vice chairman of the Transportation Commission, so we're hopeful that we can bring home what we all hope is a satisfactory answer for those ramps.
Thank you very much. All right, our next question has to do with citizens advisory committees. And the question was asked specifically in regard to the PC. So let's hear the citizen.
Another concerned citizen has a question.
My question is, why don't we have citizen advisory groups for the PCs like 1 and 2?
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Our first respondent this time is Don McCormick. Don?
Community input on major decisions like planned communities is always of interest to the town council. Several months ago, we had a public workshop to try and identify a good process for reviewing the planned community proposals when they come in. And as a result of that, we, in the case of PC2, which is, of course, a fairly divisive issue in our community, we conducted a series of public workshops prior to officially beginning to review the project in order to identify all of the issues that the community has with respect to that process, to the project. We've done this now, and we are about to begin the final review process, which will take over a year. But it points out the importance of the town council and the planning commission continuing to get good public input as we attempt to deal with all these issues that were identified. I don't think that having a citizens advisory committee, especially to review a planned community, is a good thing to do. In fact, we have an advisory committee. We call it the Planning Commission, and I think that process can work very well for us.
Thank you, Don. Right now, Mr. Drake, respond, please.
The PC process is a statewide mandated process, or the process we used, and in response to the community's interest in PC2, we actually added additional in-front meetings and community workshops so that we could get the broadest possible public input. And I think the council has responded that way. Anytime we have an issue of importance, we involve the community, such as the 4th of July situation, the Southwest Gas. We always have in the past, and I believe future councils will include that. So if interest in PC2, PC1 and 3 becomes an issue, or the master plan communities, I'm certain we'll do the same thing, even though it's not an actual requirement. Thank you.
Okay, Maya.
Yeah, I agree with what Bob said, and I'd also like to say that I think we really took some extra steps to involve the community, both in PC2, in the Downtown Specific Plan, and the General Plan. We've really had some great input and feedback from the citizens of Truckee. There were a lot of positive response from the workshops that we held for PC2. And of course, there's always more that can be done. We're always looking for additional ideas and suggestions on how we can effectively reach out to everyone in the community. That's always something that can be refined, and I'm always looking for a way to do that. But I'm very happy with staff's response to the community as well as the town council's response.
Thank you, Maya. Edgar.
And I think the citizens advisory committees are what we need, but we also need more community involvement. We need to let the people know when meetings are. A lot of people I talk to don't know when the meetings are. They don't have any idea of what's going on. I think the town needs to make more of an effort to letting everybody know. On some of the smaller projects that have gone around, it's been the neighbors in the neighborhood going door to door that have brought awareness to meetings and brought people to meetings. And something more in that nature needs to be done. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate your comments very much. In the interest of time, I think what we'd like to do now is ask each of you if you have a final statement that you'd like to make. Limit it to 1 minute, please. And then we're going to move on to another portion of the show. And we should start with, let's see, let's start with Don McCormick, since he was last at the opening and the introduction. Don?
I think these have been very good questions, and I think through the thread throughout these responses is the need for good public input. Your public servants are assigned the responsibility of making decisions in your interest, and if we don't get good input from all of the community, it is difficult to be sure that we have all of the factors that we need to take into account. I think experience is a very important part of what the council members bring to the table, and the voters need to be sure that they are getting the right kind of experience that they want.
Don, thank you. Edgar?
I think the incumbents have done a good job, and they've got the best interests of the town at heart. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I think I bring a different view to, if I was elected to the town council, is that I work with the working people every day, and I get to hear their concerns and what's going on. And that's my position on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Edgar. Maya?
Thank you. We're really at a crossroads now. Truckee has gotten through the first 5 years of incorporation, gotten a lot of the groundwork out of the way, and now we're faced with the larger tasks of the growth of our community and some of the issues that the ramps may or may not bring to town. It's important that your elected officials are responsive to the community, responsive to all citizens, and are an ear and a voice for all 12,000 people that live in Truckee and not just a select few. Regardless of who you vote for, I encourage you to get out and vote on November 3rd, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Maya. Bob?
I'd like to thank Truckee Talks for allowing this opportunity and also involving citizen questions from citizens on the street. I've been a member of this council since the beginning, and we've really built a good foundation, as Maya indicated, and now is the time to put the good, solid framework up, which we're in the process of doing. The PC processes that are going on, the beginning of the redevelopment agency. Measure M is a testimony to this community, not to this council, and its willingness to put its money where its mouth is and move forward, and it behooves the next councils to keep that trust and keep moving forward as we are with good, solid reserves. I agree with Maya. No matter who you vote for, go out and vote. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, and I want to thank all of you, Bob Drake, Maya Schneider, Edgar Stratton, Don McCormick, for sharing this time with us and having the audience get an opportunity to hear what you had to say on these issues.
Thank you very
And
much.
good luck to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back right after this short break with more. Welcome back to our special program on Truckee Talks. This is our election show. You have just heard reactions from our 4 candidates for town council to the various questions that we had on tape from the citizens of Truckee that Mark was good enough to shoot with Mr. Fletcher. Now we'd like to cover some of the other issues that you'll find on the ballot, and these are just strictly the local issues, the ones that concern us here in Truckee. And of course, if you don't know what it looks like, this is your ballot.
Hopefully you got it in the mail.
And make sure that you know what day you're supposed to be there, November the 3rd on Tuesday, and where you're supposed to vote. And if you don't know for sure where that might be,
It's on the back. You don't have to come in on it, but it's on the back.
On the back of the ballot, of course, it tells where you're supposed to be, and you should be there. So we'll say more about that a little later. Here's what we'd like to do. We're not going to, this is not an editorial show. We don't have any comments on any of these issues or any of these offices. We just like to read them off, and so that you know who they are, and mention their names. And Mark, would you like to start with the first issue?
The first is county assessor, and you're going to only vote for one, either Art Green or Todd Juvenal.
The next item on the ballot is county clerk recorder. Again, you're going to vote for one, and there are 2 names on the ballot, Denny Dax and Lorraine Jewett-Burdick.
For the next one is the Truckee Fire Protection District. You're going to be voting for a director, and you're going to vote for no more than 3 of these 4 candidates. Gary W. Waters. I'm sorry, Gary W. Waters. K. Jerry Goulding, Ronald E. Perea, I believe, and Joseph E. Straub, Jr.
Tahoe Forest Hospital District, again, you're going to vote for no more than 3 here, and this is for the director of the Tahoe Forest Hospital District. Lee B. Auchenthaler, Leonard N. Shaheen, John R. Falk, and Rob Eskridge.
For the Truckee Donner Public Utilities District, you're going to vote for no more than 2, and this is also for a director. You have a choice of Herb Gardner, Dan Cooley, Patricia Sutton, Ron Hemmig, Jerry J. Bowes, and Patrick B. McDonough.
That sounds good. McDonough?
Yeah, McDonough.
For the Truckee Donner Recreation and Park District, again, you're going to vote for no more than 3, and you're voting for the director of that district, H. Peter Werble, Paul Klein, Jeff S. Stevens, and Kevin D. McCall.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize. That may be Patrick B. McDonough. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So. Please forgive me, and hopefully the correction made it all right. For the Truckee Sanitary District, you're going to vote for no more than 3 as well. For the director would be Dorothy M. Whitman, Marjorie Adkerson, Jerry Gilmore, Ron Sweet, Michael F. Sullivan.
Good. And those are basically the issues that will affect us here in Truckee. And of course, on your ballot are many more issues. If you want to get more information, of course, on any of the candidates that are running for town council, there are statements in here that you will find made by each of them. And there are statements by all of the candidates for all of the offices and all the positions that are on the ballot. Obviously, before you vote, I think it's a terrific idea to read as much of this information as you have time for.
Because there's not just the local issues, but there's a lot of statewide issues, county issues. It's really good to get a hold of this ballot and make your choices.
Mark, did you have fun out in the street interviewing the citizens of Truckee?
I really did. I really wanted to kind of have a montage of everybody together. But I do want to thank Peter Fletcher for braving the cold weather during our interviews, and I want to thank all the people that contributed to their thoughts to the interviews, and many of them got edited out for various reasons. But I want to thank you very much for your thoughts and your time. And I did want to mention that the Tahoe Sierra Board of Realtors will be hosting a forum. This is on Wednesday, the 28th. It's going to be at 6 p.m. It's going to be at the PUD building in the boardroom. Everyone is welcome. They're going to have, I believe it said, all the candidates there to express themselves, maybe answer questions from the public. I encourage you to exercise your right to your election campaign. And on behalf of Bill Furnell, I would like to thank you and the staff of Truckee Talks. Thank you.
And that's our show, our special election show on Truckee Talks. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.